I-85 is shut. Oh my gosh, look, this blew up. Oh my God.
Get across the street!
Keep on going that way. You're about to get gas line right here.
The flames just engulfed the entire area.
The three plumes of smoke.
Oh my God!
And there were some explosions.
You could see those plumes of smoke from miles away. At one point, we saw that one black plume of smoke, and then we saw another black plume of smoke pop up.
The sprayers all around.
You're watching special coverage of the deadly fire on I-85.
A fiery crash sparks chaos on I-85. Drivers scrambling for safety after a fuel truck erupts into flames. 2 lives are lost in the wreckage. Nearby businesses shuttered. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ryan Kruger. It all started around 8 o'clock this morning when 2 cars collided on I-85 North near Jimmy Carter Boulevard. That's in Gwinnett County. It caused a chain reaction, sending one of the cars crashing into a tanker carrying fuel. As police arrived on the scene, it exploded, spilling ignited gasoline all over the interstate and down into storm drains. One of our viewers caught an explosion on camera. Take a look.
85 is shut. Oh my gosh, look, this blew up.
Wow, unbelievable. Drivers were evacuated from their cars. Nearby businesses were also cleared out. We're going to take a live look at what traffic looks like now. All lanes were closed in both directions, but now all lanes on both sides back open. The last few northbound lanes just reopened within the past 10 minutes. And our crews have been out there all day covering all angles of this big story for you. We're going to have team coverage from them tonight. Chanu Her live on the scene right now where road repairs are underway, and he's got the latest for us now. Chanu?
Yeah, Ryan, you mentioned all of these I-85 northbound lanes just reopened within the last minutes, but within the last hour, GDOT crews were out here working on some of those lanes. Only 2 lanes were reopened at that point. Now, all lanes were closed for several hours today as GDOT officials were out here looking at the scene. Now, those officials said the fire caused significant damage to the pavement. Experts with GDOT says the fire essentially cooked the pavement so badly, crews had to scrape it off and repave.
None of it is easy from a repair standpoint, but it's easy to go ahead and repave that section of roadway and get it back open.
Now, the GDOT spokesperson says their hope was that they would get these lanes open by tonight, but as you can see, they got that done quicker than they thought. And a big thing he talked about was they're just glad the weather held off so that the crews were able to work fast. Ryan?
All right, Chanu Her reporting live from the scene. Thank you, Chanu. We are going to turn next to Caitlin Ross. She brings us a closer look at how everything played out this morning.
Police first got a call about a traffic accident right here at 7:50 this morning, but when they responded, they quickly found it was much worse.
Initially, it was just a normal vehicle accident on the interstate. As officers were approaching the scene, they described fireball in the sky.
First responders found a fuel tanker fully engulfed on the interstate. They immediately called in backup to get drivers off the road.
Drivers that were stopped between the accident and where traffic was being diverted were all evacuated out of their vehicles.
Some drivers jumped the median to get away from the fire. Others abandoned their cars on the interstate as fire crews worked quickly to contain it.
After this fire exploded in the way that it did, the fuel began to spread into the sewer drain. It spread fairly quickly. While on scene trying to evacuate drivers, officers looked over southbound Interstate 85 and they could see explosions coming out of the manhole covers is what they described.
When firefighters realized how quickly it was spreading, they made the decision not to put water on it for fear the water in the sewer drain would push the fire further out, causing even more damage.
And we have information that this was 8,500 gallons of fuel, 7,500 of that being gasoline and 1,000 of that being diesel fuel combined with whatever was in the tractor trailer saddle tanks.
Gwinnett police say they're still tracking just how far the fuel spread.
That's very unusual. You know, when you're responding to an incident like this, it's not something you'd ever expect to look out for. It was something that was very sudden, not something responding officers expected to see. And again, what was described was explosions from manhole covers due to the liquid being in the sewer.
They expect the investigation into figuring out exactly what happened here to take a long time.
And that ongoing investigation is still hampering traffic at this hour. And folks, it is going to be a marathon if you're trying to get in and out of the city. We're going to go next to Jerry Carnes with everything you need to know if you have to drive anywhere near that area. Hey, Jerry.
Hello, Ryan. Things are changing rapidly here traffic-wise and for the better. Take a look here at this shot that is looking from the south up northward at I-85 toward the area where that accident, fire, and cleanup took place. And you can see I-85 moving right along, but you see the brake light, so it is still slowed through that area. So you might still want to consider alternates. Because things are still slow, we're going to give you some alternates around this. These are the alternates we have been giving you all day long. Right there you can see traffic on 85 is slowed to 23 miles an hour as you approach that area of Jimmy Carter Boulevard where this accident took place just 10 minutes ago. It was down to 5 miles an hour. That's when they only had a couple of lanes open. So fortunately, things are looking much better. But you see our alternates there. You can come up from town using Buford Highway or Peachtree Industrial Boulevard. Either one of those will take you over to Highway 140, which is Holcomb Bridge Road, and then turns into Jimmy Carter Boulevard, and then you can hop back onto I-85. But this is improving so rapidly, you might not need those alternates in just 10 minutes, Ryan. That's how fast traffic is improving. We'll come back to you a little later in the newscast and give you an update on traffic in that area.
That's good to know. All right, thank you, Jerry. We're going to check back with you soon. Now, the moments immediately following the crash and fire were intense. Drivers were fleeing to safety. Our Nick Sturdivant was there as the drama unfolded, and he brings us some witnesses.
Fear, frustration, and complete chaos. Many stuck on Interstate 85 North, abandoning their cars Saturday morning to get to safety, while those slightly further away decided to stay and wait it out. Several hopping onto cars, the concrete median, trying to get a glimpse of what happened. After, according to GDOT, a tractor trailer carrying fuel and another vehicle collided, causing this.
Oh, it was calamity.
Stephen Paul says he was on 85 North on the way to work when he saw the flames. He said he heard as many as 15 to 16 explosions and saw 3 different plumes of smoke. He said he left his truck and immediately started consoling those shaken.
They were crying inconsolably. In fact, I was trying to calm them down, letting them know it would be okay. It's just a fuel explosion. But when you hear that many explosions around you, and then, of course, the calamity of everybody being rushed away. In fact, some people even started turning their cars around to go the opposite way on 85, almost like a stampede. In fact, a lot of cops had to bum rush them because pedestrians were almost getting hit.
So I was maybe 100 feet back from the accident. Before the gas truck had stopped moving, it was already on fire. Immediately pulled over. That sucker was up in 30 seconds, so far as getting really kind of roaring, being able to feel the heat off of it.
At one point, even nearby businesses were evacuated.
To be honest with you, just prayers, to be honest with you. To see a fire like that, of that nature, just prayers all around.
Lives lost, families grieving, dozens of business owners and their livelihoods impacted too. But some jumped into action to help in any way they could. John Sheerick continues our coverage.
Business owners here along Furniture Row who had a terrifying up-close view of the explosions and fire did not think of themselves first. Some opened their doors early to help everyone they could.
People were scared.
Kayla Gowdy at Mattress Firm didn't think twice. When she saw people outside trying to escape, she knew just what she had to do.
Some people were terrified. They just wanted to get out of their vehicles and get inside as soon as possible. So essentially, I just opened the store up. At first, I was like, hey, if you use the bathroom, you can come in. They're freezing cold, so I just let them stay inside the store until they were able to go out.
They were the most people she would see inside the store all day. Dozens of store owners on Dawson Boulevard ended up behind the police barricades, their customers on the other side. So they closed for part of the day or all day.
A giant ball of fire with smoke coming over the store.
Samuel Lee, who works at Fine Fabrics, wasn't thinking of lost business. He was trying to forget what he'd just seen. This is his video that he posted on social media, thinking of those who were lost. But he tells me he's also left with the gut punch reality hitting the business too, hurting the business, busy Saturday business.
Especially because it's now prom season. Like the normal regular customers that come in, they're not here.
And customers who did find back roads around the barricades.
It's terrible. I mean, if somebody passed away.
Like Elise Castro, Furniture Row customers who ended up caught in interstate traffic overflowing onto local streets, doubling and tripling their drive time, were not thinking of themselves.
Doesn't matter if it inconvenienced me. So now there's a family out there that's going to be mourning right now.
So we just have to pray God that He take us safe on our journey.
So the economic impact to the dozens of small businesses along Furniture Row is major. But many owners tell me when they looked out their windows, they were counting their blessings.
As this was happening, our newsroom was flooded with videos and pictures from viewers capturing it all as it unfolded. Jennifer Bellamy shows us some of those incredible images right now.
Thousands of you joined us online for our coverage of this fire on I-85 in those northbound lanes, and a lot of you were sharing some of your images. We want to show you some of them. This one really shows the magnitude of this fire, this image coming from the southbound lanes. You can see the fire, the smoke rising. A big concern for those first responders was the fuel that was coming out of that overturned tanker, making its way into the drainage system. In fact, they evacuated nearby businesses on both sides of I-85 on Dawson Boulevard and on Crescent Drive to make sure that those folks were safe. And this image right here, this video, shows you exactly why they wanted to do that. You see all of these plumes of smoke that were out there, about 1, 2, 3, and if we keep going, it's 1, 2, 3, and then a fourth plume of smoke over here, this on the highway and on other sides of the highway. So that smoke and those explosions that people reported were also a really big concern out there. A lot of people sharing a lot of images of what they were seeing as they were out there trying to make their way about their business this weekend. This video shows a car looking like it was trying to turn in the lanes, and then people out there also just out of their vehicles in the lanes of the highway. You know, 11 Live is the station where Atlanta speaks, so we want to hear from you what your thoughts are, what your concerns as we continue to follow the story. You can share them on our 11 Live Facebook page.
Now, as everyone else was watching this all play out, we were holding our breath, thinking back to that fire that brought down an entire bridge on I-85 just 3 years ago, almost to the date.
I thought the building was on fire, but it was actually the interstate that was on fire.
March 30th, 2017, a day that left us with a striking image. A massive fire raged with such intensity it caused a section of I-85 to collapse, and one of Atlanta's busiest interstates was shut down for weeks. Thankfully, construction went ahead of schedule. Relief to the thousands of drivers who faced reroutes and detours, all creating a traffic nightmare. We discovered a lot of new things in the days and weeks after the fire. Many of us discovered new routes to take to work. MARTA discovered a double-digit increase in ridership during the collapse. And we even discovered, of all things, a skate park secretly underneath I-85. A homeless man named Basil Ellaby was charged with arson. He pleaded not guilty, and the charges were later dropped after he went through a drug rehabilitation program. In all, it cost the state around $15 million.
And of course, after that, any fire on I-85 tends to grab our attention. And today's fire, at least the fourth and of course the largest within just the past 3 weeks. Here are the others we're talking about. On January 17th, a small fire broke out under the I-85 bridge near Piedmont Road. Investigators say it appeared to be from a homeless camp. Now, on January 22nd, officials say 2 homeless people got into a fight and set each other's belongings on fire. That was near Lindbergh and I-85. And the very next day, the fire department says someone set trash and debris on fire underneath the interstate near the Buford Spring connector. Smoke could be seen for miles. Thankfully, though, that fire was extinguished quickly. We've mentioned that today's fire brought traffic to a standstill on I-85, and it forced drivers to find an alternate route to get around. Now, that has a lot of people talking about the need for public transportation. You may remember last March, voters in Gwinnett County rejected a $5 billion proposal to expand MARTA there. A 1-cent sales tax increase would have funded heavy rail and bus rapid transit lanes. On our 11 Live Facebook page, several people like Mike Fair say MARTA needs to be expanded, while others like K.M. Williams are still against the idea in Gwinnett County. Others like Marie Dickinson point out having public transportation wouldn't prevent accidents like today's crash. The I-85 corridor has become congested headache over the past few years, and the state knows it. In fact, just today, of all days, GDOT held an informational session for a new initiative to get feedback from the public. GDOT and Gwinnett County are working together to conduct a corridor study along 85 between 285 and 985. That's right in the area where today's crash happened. The study will help come up with solutions for curbing congestion, easing traffic flow, and improving safety. There's a public meeting scheduled for Tuesday the 4th from 6 to 8 p.m. You can also go to 85study.com to give your feedback. And you'll find photos, videos, and more on this latest deadly I-85 fire right now on 11alive.com, or you can text us at this number 404-873-9114 for a link to our complete coverage, and check back throughout the weekend for updates.